Hey guys, it's your girl Dyme LaShawn, and we back at it again. We back at it again. If this is your first time here, welcome. Come on in and grab a seat. It's my pleasure, okay, to give you guys content and to go on my journey alongside you all. This is a channel that will focus on self-development and just wellness overall. It is my goal to add to the wellness of the overall collective, and specializing in starting with women because, you know, we're kind of like the key. So if you are interested in any of those things, self-development, self-awareness, just living the life you love, go ahead, click the subscribe button and come on in. And if you are already here, you already are familiar with me, then you know that you are a babe. So you know that your rightful place is right here with me. Join me in the comments. If you have questions, concerns, comments, want to just engage with us, trust me, I look for your engagement and I look forward to it. Okay. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and get into the video. This video is going to be a tough one to share. I have recorded it multiple times. Sometimes I've been emotional, sometimes I've been all over the place, but I will share this video in the best way possible and ask that you guys receive this video with good intentions. And understand that this video is in no way meant to bash anyone or to talk down on anyone. This video is an attempt for me to share my truth and what I went through and to hopefully encourage you in the event that you need the encouragement. This is also a video that will provide context on why I am qualified to speak on what I speak on. So I hope that you guys enjoy this video, and yeah. And also, full disclosure, this video may be a bit long, so I'm not sure if I will cut it up into two parts or if I will do one full video. Either way, the story will get told and we will do our best. Okay, so I'm gonna try to tell this story as best as possible. It was pretty traumatic for me, so people who were previously subscribed to me know that I was married to my son's dad. And if you're here from Instagram or elsewhere, this just happened to pop up on your algorithm, then I was married to my son's father. We met each other in 2018. We were introduced through a mutual friend. I remember seeing my son's father around previously to us connecting, because we never fully connected, but I remember seeing him around during my college years, and then we connected through a friend. And I think that video was still up where I talked about how I met him and how we got married and all the rest of the different things, but that's not the story I'm here to tell, so I won't spend too much time on that. After we were introduced, we started dating, and after a brief breakup between himself and myself, we reconnected and he asked me to marry him. Full disclosure, our marriage was Islamic. We did not file with the court. That was not the plan though. The plan initially was to become married Islamically first and then to file with the court after we had planned. Unfortunately, that never took place due to the fact that the pandemic came into play. There were a lot of other moving parts, and ultimately I ended up just leaving him before all of that came together. When we rekindled after the brief breakup that we had, shortly after that I moved in. That wasn't initially the plan. I thought that things will go the normal way relationships I had known to go. They take time, they develop slowly, whatever. For him, it was very much of a, hey, I want to be with you. I was going through some things. That's why I had disappeared, but I'm back. And I want you to move in with me. And I said, well, I want to move in with you too. Sure, but I have an apartment and I can't break the lease. Okay, we'll figure that out, but I don't want you to stay there. I want you to move here with me. And so I did. I went and left my apartment, moved in with him, and we figured out my lease, and worked on breaking the lease, and, you know, within the guidelines that the property at the time laid out for us. Okay, fine. So I moved in. Shortly after I moved in, he then asked me to quit my job, and I wasn't comfortable with that. I was done with the club. I was done being a cocktail waitress because that's what I was doing at that time. I was done with it all, but I didn't feel comfortable not having a way to care for myself. And maybe looking back on that, that was my intuition, but I just really felt super nervous about not having a way to care for myself financially. I could not see how that would work. But again, for context, let's go back. I did receive a dowry once I got married, so just keep that in mind. So I go ahead and move in, and he's like, well, I don't want you to work at that club no more. You know, you are too accessible, it's dangerous, XYZ. For full disclosure, I was cocktailing at a strip club. For me, I understood that for a man, he would probably not be okay with that. Like, your girlfriend is cocktailing at a strip club. And pardon me in advance if you hear noise. It's prime time in the day, so people are moving around and making noise. But yeah, that was what was going on. I consulted my mom. I consulted myself. I wasn't really comfortable, I'm going to be honest, but due to the fact that I trusted my boyfriend at the time, I went ahead and quit my job. Looking back on it, it sounds ridiculous, but I went ahead and quit my job. I mean, I was now living with him. I wasn't paying any bills. My car note was minimal, to be honest. I thought, like, you know, okay, sure. So maybe a month after that, I ended up getting married. Now, when I got married, like I mentioned before, I got a dowry. An incentive for me to quit my job, he did also offer me money. He gave me like a little nest egg. It was, you know, something. And so that is what made me more comfortable with quitting my job. I had a little something. In addition to me getting my dowry, when I got married, I felt even better. So I felt okay, and I felt secure, and I felt loved and cared for, and all those great things. And we weren't really experiencing problems at that point. It was kind of like bliss, like the early April, May time. And we were also exiting Ramadan during this time, I believe. So for context, that's the time frame. I was also just recently recovering from a miscarriage. I'd had a miscarriage, and I actually remember falling out with a friend around that time because she thought that I didn't want to come to her birthday, but I just lost a child, so there's that. But anyway, so things were on the mend. We were planning for a baby, and I ended up conceiving super soon. And I had no idea, but I did end up conceiving super soon. Later, I would find out that I was pregnant, but I had already been pregnant for 3 months. And I found that out early September. So you can kind of do the math and kind of like see. It took us no time. But he had made it clear to me that he wanted to have a baby. We planned this baby. You know, my son was not an accident. He was the most beautiful plan I've ever had. And cool. However, throughout that time of us moving in together, getting married, working on a kid, it was slowly quitting my job. It was slowly, yet all at once, unveiled to me that my husband's behavior at the time wasn't really healthy. And when I say that, I can give you examples that you probably would think I'm making up. I remember one time we went on a trip shortly after we had moved in with each other. I think we went to Puerto Rico, and he took a picture of me at the pool, and then I posted the picture, and then he blocked me on Instagram randomly out of the blue. We sleep in the same bed, we wake up together, we brush our teeth in the same bathroom, but he like randomly blocks me. I don't know that he blocks me because he doesn't say anything to me about it. I try to send him a meme or something, and I'm like, hey baby, did you block me? I can't find your page. Did you delete your Instagram? I can't find your page. No, I blocked you. What? You blocked me? Why'd you block me? Well, because you're showing too much skin on Instagram. You're trying to get attention. The same picture you took of me? It would be moments like that. On his birthday that year, we go to Vegas. And this also leads up to how I found out I was pregnant, but we go to Vegas, girl. Start of the show. We go to Vegas, and I can't really party. I'm tired. I can't really drink. I just can't keep up. And the whole trip, you're just trying to ruin my birthday. You don't want to have fun. Why did I bring you? Mind you, we're married. We live together. Okay, so just context. That actually helped me to realize that I was pregnant, because I just could not understand why I could not drink, why I could not participate. And I ended up peeing on a stick and finding out that I was pregnant. After that, it was, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you just wanted to ruin my birthday. But either way, how would I just want to ruin your birthday because I can't drink and have fun? So that will give you some insight as to what I was dealing with. But at this point, what could I do? I've already quit my job. I live with him. And we're already working on a baby, and come to find out, as soon as we get back home, I'm already pregnant. Like, nice and pregnant too. Okay, cool. So we're riding this thing out. Plus, I'm gonna be honest with you all, I was head over heels in love with the man. Like, you couldn't have told me otherwise. So though there were red flags, I won't lie, the flags weren't red enough for me to leave. This was the first time in my life I had truly experienced something that looked like all of the things, right? The financial security, the man who was obsessed with me. This is the same man that when we first met would shower me in gifts and support all of my goals. You know, you want to go to the studio? Let me pay for a studio time for you. You never did this before? Let me make it so that you can do this. You never had this experience? Let me take care of you. Don't you trust me to take care of you? I love you. Don't you trust me to do this for you? These were the things that were presented to me prior to marrying him and very early on in marrying him. And these things would be echoed in between emotionally abusive episodes as well. So just follow me here. There was nothing that you could have told me that early in our marriage or in our relationship that would have truly deterred me, because my trauma, my previous trauma was worse than what I was seeing here at that particular point in time. It was more of a situation where I felt like, where else would I be? I love him, he loves me. Maybe he's a little loopy at times, but we can fix this. So I'm pregnant, we're back home from our trip, we're all together now. And we embark on this life together. I remember one day he randomly wakes up and says, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. You're going to have to find an apartment and live by yourself and figure out what you're going to do, because I don't want to do this anymore. Out of the blue. There were no discussions about what took place. There was no argument. There was no nothing. He just woke up and said that to me. And that was in December. I was about 5 months. And, you know, that sends me on a tailspin, right? Even if you haven't been pregnant, you can imagine being so overwhelmed with emotion where you're like, what? So I'm distraught. I'm all over the place. What do you mean you don't want to do this anymore? I'm pregnant. I'm 5 months. I don't have a job. I literally don't have an apartment. I live with you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, out of the blue, this is what's being told to me. Yeah, find an apartment. As long as the bills are $3,000 or less, then cool, because I got to be able to make a living for myself too, and you'll just have to figure out the rest. These are things that will go on all the time. And with that example in particular, I go on this wild goose chase trying to find an apartment to move into, for him at the very last minute to say, I don't know what got into me. Let's move in together. I'm sorry that I did that. So with those 3 examples that I've shared, that gives you insight into what the first year, 6 months to a year of marriage looked like. There was never really a true honeymoon period, because from the gate there was controlling tactics, there was erratic behavior. One minute it's lovey-dovey, the next minute I blocked you randomly on Instagram, the next minute I'm kicking you out of the house when you're 5 months pregnant. I mean, even one time he had his cousin come retrieve my house keys because he had suspicions that I was cheating, because I got into a car accident. And even after I told him that I was in a car accident, he assumed that I was giving him an excuse because I was really with the man, even though the cousin in question that he sent to retrieve my keys picked me up from said place and took me home to the place we live together. Sorry, pardon me. So by January, February, March, April, now I'm preparing for childbirth because my baby is coming. And throughout the pandemic and before, moments leading up to it, I spent a lot of time alone as well. So on top of knowing you're in deep shit, mama, because the man you married and gave up your financial stability for is a terrorist. It doesn't matter how much you love him. He's probably going to ruin your life. There's nothing that you can really do in this moment, though. That's where my mind was. So on top of that, I now also am not going outside. Most of my friends have abandoned me. I can't drink. A lot of them feel personally annoyed by the fact that I chose to get married without consulting them or looping them in. I didn't have very much of a social life. So let's just stick it. With all of this, there's a lot coming out at me fast, if you can imagine. I go from being a well-known person in my area that is most times the life of the party, always invited, always has some place to go or something to do or some event to attend. Ambitious, single, employed, a place to live that is your own. I go from these things to somebody completely different. By this point, I am now married woman with child, no job, no house. My life changed drastically, okay? Who I knew myself to be changed drastically. And in addition to this, I am now being emotionally abused because I never know what page my husband is on. Some days he wakes up happy, some days he wakes up and doesn't speak to me for days at a time. Most times he's not even home, okay? Now there's a pandemic into play. And some days I would call him, he wouldn't be home. He wouldn't even want to talk on the phone. He would be so upset or irritated acting about the fact that I wanted to talk to him. I'm working, I'm doing this, that, and the third, that I truly felt like he hated me. Like, honestly speaking, I really don't even know how I was able to stay numb enough to not lose my mind, because it was deeply hurtful to me. Having a child was a really big decision for me, and during the process of me being pregnant and growing this baby, I spent most of my time alone, and with no emotional support from my husband at the time. Did he do things for me? Yes. Were the bills paid? Yes. But was he emotionally supportive? Was he there? No.
And some people might say, well, at least with bills paid. But then we would have to have a conversation about values and what means most to each of us.
During my pregnancy, what I needed most was him. What I needed most was emotional security. What I needed most was care. And what I experienced during that time was a lot of, well, you can get out. Well, you can go. Oh, you want to talk. And in addition to that, we were not even sexually active my entire pregnancy, which also took a really big toll on my self-esteem, because nothing changed about my looks. I was even more glowy then than I had ever been, but there was just a neglect in overall intimacy in general on top of those things. I remember even trying to busy myself because I was so bored and I felt so void of who I know myself to be, that I asked to start businesses. I said, well, let me start a store. Let me do this. Let me do that. It won't make any money. I'm not supporting that. Well, let me do my YouTube channel. I don't support that either. You need to be doing something else. There was a constant put down of my creative pursuits. I guess that's the best word. I remember I was doing music before I met him, and was like, well, maybe I can make music, and then when I have the baby, I can get back to it. I don't want a woman who does music. If you do music, then you can just forget about our relationship. It's me or the music. So something that he encouraged me to do, that I was under the impression that he would support, was now something that he no longer supported. And I remember asking him about that, and he told me, well, I supported it when it was a hobby, but once I loved you, I didn't want you to do anything anymore. Just to give you some insight. So life is coming at me fast at this time, and now it's almost time for me to have my baby. April comes, my baby's 1 week overdue, and I end up having the most beautiful baby in the whole wide world. And there's videos up about my pregnancy and delivery story. And I have this baby, and I end up having a C-section, and it was a very complicated delivery, but you know, all was well. 3 days after I was released from the hospital, he was gone again. And to be fair, my mom was employed by us to be our nanny, so I had my mother to support me, and I really don't know what I would have done if she was not there, because I probably would have lost my mind. I had fully expressed to my husband prior to us working on a child what I was looking for in terms of a husband, what I was expecting in terms of those moments with postpartum and, you know, after making a baby. And we were on the same page, seemingly. So when these things did not pan out after I actually had my son, it was deeply hurtful to me. What's a girl to do though? Now you're in the middle of a pandemic, you have no job, you have a little savings that you know, got from dowry and just as a trust me gift, but that's not enough money to do much with in the middle of a pandemic. You can't go out and get an apartment with it. You certainly can't take care of this newborn with it. And the last job you had was as a cocktail waitress. So you do the math. What are the odds of you getting employed in the middle of a pandemic with a new baby? So at this point, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, I felt defeated. And at the same time, there was a lot of hope, a lot of optimism there still. Like, well, he doesn't cheat on you. At least he doesn't cheat on you. Everything's gonna be fine. You know, he is still supportive sometimes. Maybe you guys can go to therapy. You guys can do this, you guys can do that. And so I suggested therapy. We started therapy. I remember us going to therapy and us going through, I think, 6 or 12 weeks of therapy, and then and discussing all of these things and our concerns. And after therapy was over and she discharged us and she said that we were great and we were good to go, he looks at me in the car and says, I still feel away. I didn't tell her what I'm really mad about. And I said, well, what are you really mad about? He starts to talk to me about Islam. So, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there's obvious, probably questions about that. Well, if he's Muslim, were you Muslim? And then where were you with that? And all the rest of that. And during the time of us getting married, because his dad married us, which is also an important caveat, and I'll explain. His dad married us, and during the time of us getting married, I ended up reciting Shahada. Now, how did you end up reciting Shahada? It's in Arabic. I don't know Arabic. I'm depending on my husband to explain to me what the marriage proceedings are versus what is something else. My husband never explained any of that to me. I'm just repeating. Just like you say, repeat after me, say these vows, right? I'm under the impression that this is what's happening. And after our marriage ceremony was complete, my husband made it clear to me that he was so disappointed that I had taken Shahada because he did not feel ready to lead me yet, and I did not need to do that, and why did I do that? And when I explained to him that I wasn't sure what was going on, and that if that was the case, why didn't he correct me? He explained to me that I should have known. For context. So he's upset with me in this moment. Come to find out after therapy that I took Shahada. He doesn't want to lead me in Islam. He wasn't ready for that yet. Ultimately, he wanted me to do it at some point, but that's not something that he was interested in doing at this point. And, you know, I felt truly defeated once again, because it's like, what's a girl to do? I'm going after Shahada was taken, don't get me wrong, I was just as like, because that wasn't something that I had intentionally done. However, due to the fact that I'm so open-minded, I was already in solidarity with my husband to be married, to be with him, to be doing this for life. I was not devastated by it. I said, okay, well, let's go to mosque. Okay, every Friday we'll go to Jummah. Okay, we'll go closer together in this, and I will trust you to lead me. He was upset by that. And for people who don't know, you do not need to be Muslim as a woman to marry a Muslim man. Ultimately, he, being Muslim, is able to convert you later. And so that's what he meant by I did not need to be converted, which was very odd because he did not lead me in the process. So ultimately, I just feel naked in this marriage at this point, right? Like, I married you, you're mad at me because I'm doing what I'm being led to do. You're upset with me because you don't want to lead me, admittedly so, on your behalf. You are 1 minute in love with me, the next minute telling me to get out, the next minute telling me that you don't have to pay bills and I should be lucky, the next minute you're never here, the next minute, you know, I never know where I'm at. I'm out of my body. There is no true security here. But again, what's a girl to do? So therapy's over. He's still upset with me about something I cannot change, as well as something that he never tried to fix or prevent. And I guess the fault was mine in his mind, because he didn't want to leave me. And I think this would set the tone for most of our marriage. Anything he didn't want to do or was upset with me about because he had to do, or any point of me holding him accountable, he was upset with me about. I remember there would be times that fresh newborn baby, I remember he went on a trip. I think it might have been for his brother's birthday. And this might be significant if you're from my city, because it seems like everybody from my city was at this party. But I remember him going and there being like a party at like a mansion, and him telling me that I could not be in attendance for this birthday party because, oh no, it was for his birthday. And I was told that I could not be in attendance for this birthday party because it was dangerous, you know, COVID, there could be some other dangerous parties, and I had just had a baby, and that he wanted me to sit this one out, but we would celebrate his birthday separately. And I get on Instagram one day and I see, shortly after he leaves to go on this trip that was in California, and I see every exotic dancer from my city. I see every cool kid from my city there, everybody but me. And shortly after he came home, he had strep throat. And I remember nursing him back to health and all of these great things. I also remember having to take my son to my mother's house because he had went and irresponsibly gone to party, excluded me from the party, caught strep throat, and endangered our whole household. For that offense, I got a very nice gift. But as we know, gifts don't fix everything. So here we are. There were moments where he would go to the casino and stay out all night. And then if I say, did you stay at the casino all night? This was not okay. This is not acceptable. If I had any problem, any argument, any pushback, he would pack all of his clothes and just leave the house and say, well, you figure out the bills then. Since you want to argue, you're not happy, you figure out the bills. These things would happen all the time. Again, I'm postpartum. I have a newborn. He's always off doing something that he's not supposed to do. Lipstick Alley is constantly jumping with how much of a dummy I am, because clearly, and to me, while everybody is talking, chatting, saying whatever it is that they want to say, the people who know us, I'm in my head saying, there's no need for you to say anything negative about me because my existence is already kind of negative enough. Yes, we go on trips. Yes, I get nice gifts. Yes, I don't pay any bills. But inside, I was dying. Imagine being in love with somebody, giving them a baby, and they're never home. They act like what you say doesn't matter. They're mad at you every time you try to be better for them, or anytime you try to give of yourself to them. I felt like I was losing my mind on top of postpartum. And I just thank God so much, and I thank my mother so much for the support, because I do not know where I would have been otherwise. I felt like I was in a state of like being numb. The only thing that I kept saying to myself was, at least he doesn't cheat on me. At least he doesn't cheat on me. Like, he does mean stuff, but at least he doesn't cheat on me. Maybe we'll try therapy again. So now we're going to therapy individually with the intent to go together again. So now it's 2021 and Ramadan is here. And I remember fasting because though he was unhappy with having to lead me or being responsible for leading me or whatever, what do? Do you say, okay, well, I'm not going to do this or that anymore? It was just such a confusing time in my life because I'm trying to love you. I'm trying to be there. I am trying to care for you, and you will not let me. And you married me for what? Because I don't know what I'm doing at this point. And You're not guiding me. You're not helping me. You're not doing anything but paying bills. And I know that sounds crazy, but if every bill in your home is paid, but you are in perpetual misery because the person that you love is impossible, it's not much you can do. Anywho, I remember doing a prayer about it. I remember, God, like, I don't know why I'm in this situation. I don't know what's going on. You know, I'm lost. If you could help me, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing, how I'm supposed to be practicing religion, but I know that I love you. And I know that no matter what the religion is, that you love me. And I just want to love my husband. I want to love my baby, and I want to be loved in return. So if there is something that I should be doing differently, show me. If there's something that I do not know that I need to know, show me. I want to be here with my family. I want to have that personalized happily ever after help. That's so random. Shortly after that prayer, I'm fasting Ramadan. And I remember going to the bathroom and it burned. And I remember saying, whoa, I must have a UTI. I haven't been drinking water because I've been fasting. And then that means if I have to take medicine, then I can't fast anymore. So let me go ahead and tell my husband, hey, don't be surprised if you see me eating during the day. I probably not gonna be fast anymore because I have UTI. So I go out and I tell him, and this is one of the moments we were actually on good terms, or seemingly so. He was laying on the bed, I was sitting on the bed, and I was like, yeah, babe, I think I'm gonna have to stop fasting because I have a UTI. And I remember his response, you got a UTI? Like, what? Like, as if I was dirty or something. And it's so strange because UTIs are very common amongst women, and he's familiar with what they are because I had one when I was pregnant that actually hospitalized me, and because it turned into a kidney infection. So I was a bit confused at his response. So, well, we're gonna go to the doctor and we're gonna get tested. And I was like, okay, like where's this passion coming from? But we go to the doctor and he is there and basically telling the triage lady, like the nurse who's triaging us, I don't know, she might have something. She's saying she's burning and this and that. And it being a thing where the nurse was so put off. She was like, what's you guys' relationship? And I'm like, we're married, we have a child. I don't know why he's talking this way. She's like, yeah, like, what's your deal there? And he's like, I don't know. And it was so off-putting because it literally presented as a UTI. We both get tested, we leave. And I remember him telling me, well, we should move to Houston because I feel like that would be better. And something in my gut just saying, do not move away from your family with this man. But I just, no, babe, you know, I don't know, XYZ. I don't think that's something that I want to do. When you're ready, we can rediscuss, blah, blah, blah. And again, that was my intuition at the time that I did, because I didn't really know my intuition like I know her now. But that was my intuition saying, hell no. Shortly after that was my son's first birthday. And I remember us throwing a party. We threw a party. It was fun. It was nice. We had a great time. And I still felt super crummy. And furthermore than it feeling like a UTI, it just felt more impactful now. Like I felt unwell. And I remember him coming to me at my son's birthday party and saying, you don't have no energy. You just not having a good time. That's how he was talking to me. And I was like, well, I don't feel well, baby. Like, that's why. There were even moments at my son's birthday party where he was clearly looking at other women's butts. Quite despicable. And when I called him out about it, he tried to argue with me about it and say that I was starting arguments. Shortly after my son's birthday party, again, I'm in this numb state of mind. The following day, or following 2 days, I get a call. I'm sitting at the desk, working on some real estate endeavors, because I think that was the first year I started working on my real estate license, because that was the only thing that he would support at that time for me to do, because that benefited him. So I was working on that. I think I was in class for that, trying to get my real estate license in DC. And I get a call from my doctor. And well, I get a call from the doctor, because it wasn't my personal one, but the one that had tested us. And I found out I have chlamydia. Mind you, I know I hadn't done anything to get it. I know that I didn't even have time to go get anything from anybody, because I have a newborn. I'm always in the house. It's the middle of a pandemic. I'm certainly not going to squander financial security to go find some random person to be doing things with. So obviously he was cheating. And you know what? Side note, when you do that prayer that to God, like, protect me from any enemies or anything, you know, that's gonna harm me, you know, if there's anything I need to know, let me know. I want to let you know, honestly and truly, that that prayer sweeps through like a Rico. Don't pray it unless you're ready. Because I said that prayer not even a month before that happened. And prior to that, I had no idea that my husband was cheating on me. I just thought that he was a thoughtless man, and that maybe he was unhappy, and maybe he was, you know, overwhelmed with the pressures of being married and being a new dad. I didn't think that he was cheating. But again, I think that's the delusion that kept me from losing my mind. So when he was approached with the cheating situation and all the rest of that, of course his response to me was, you gave it to me. I didn't give you anything. You gave it to me. You be cheating on me and this and that. And we knew that that wasn't the case, because he would go through my computer. He would go through my phone. I would be on the phone with my friends and he would be listening to my conversations through the baby monitor. He was very controlling in that respect. He knew I wasn't cheating. If I went to the nail salon for too long, he would start calling me. He knew I wasn't cheating. He knew I wasn't cheating. But he also very much so knew that he was cheating. He tried to play it as if he didn't do anything wrong. And then I guess they called him with his results. And then he said, well, yeah, I'm sorry. But it still took him a week. By that point, I had already moved out. I had moved all of my things into storage, and I went to my mother's house, because that was where I had to draw the line, because no, absolutely fucking not. And I had a surgery plan to get my boobs done and get some lipo, to just kind of put myself back together, to feel like myself, because I was not feeling like myself. I was the saddest, most confused, most underloved person. And when I say underloved, I'm just talking about him, because my mama and my family, they let me down. But like, I was in a bad space, on top of being postpartum and taking care of a brand new baby that I had to show up for every day, sleep deprived. Oh, I was very serious about putting myself back together. I had my surgery planned, and I needed his assistance with my child. And during that time of needing his assistance with my child and being uncomfortable sleeping on an air mattress at my mother's house with lipo, I went back briefly. I still never moved my things out of storage. But during that time, while I was recuperating and healing, there was a lot of, baby, I will never do it again. I am so sorry. I'm this, I am that, I am blah, 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 blah. And during that time, he went to my storage unit, got all of my belongings, and brought them back to the house. I can't lift anything. I have lipo. And new boobs. What do you do with that? From that point on, there were a lot of gifts and a lot of this and a lot of that. And in the back of my mind, I knew I had to leave because I can't stay here. This man he does not have my best interest at heart. And not only that, he does not have his best interest at heart. Because not only is he cheating, but he's cheating in a way that is not protected. On top of that, he's endangering my life, his life, and ultimately the life of our child. Because if we are not well and whole to be able to be here to care for our kid, then what kind of mom would I be if I stayed? However, at that time, I'm still not employed. I have no place to live. I have new surgery. And it's my job to make the smartest decision. And the smartest decision at that time was to come up with a plan so that I could properly move and transition in a way to support my son. So I give it another go. At least until I can figure out the plan, right? And seemingly things actually looked like they were improving, right? They looked like they were improving. And though my delusion was no longer there, now the pain was, the resentment was. And me just always thinking of the next thing, the master plan, how I was going to be able to remove myself from such a toxic situation. From that point, we are now approaching the holidays. We spend Thanksgiving with my parents. As you know, he's Muslim, so we end up not celebrating Christmas, obvi, but we go to London to see family, and then we fly to Africa. While we were in London, there was a time where we go to a club, we come out of a club, he's extremely drunk. He needs to give me his phone so that I can locate our car, because I had previously dropped a dot where we had parked a car in London while we went to the club. And when he gave me his phone, I'm looking for my message and have to scroll because there's so many other women. Are you still on the trip? When are you coming back? You said you were gonna do this. I'm talking about explicit pictures from women, you know, just random pictures from women, him fussing with women as if he was in an intimate relationship with them. Just cheating, proof of cheating. And it was ridiculous how many women in the phone there was and how he had hid them from me because he had put the do not disturb option individually on each contact. I'm thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know if I thought that the cheating had stopped. Maybe I did because I didn't see any traces of it. He was coming home really early. He hadn't been traveling as much. Things had slowed down. And again, I think this was me just having the blinders over my eyes so that I could not lose my mind. So at this point, I'm seeing that he is still in fact cheating, never stopped. And we are set to board a flight to go to Africa with our child so that our child can meet his family. I find out, he tells me that, I don't know what he told me now that I remember, or trying to remember. It was very much so like, what are you talking about? You know, the denial, you're just trying to make stuff up. But luckily I had screenshotted things and sent them to my phone. So it wasn't really like I remember the night. I sat up all night while he drunkenly slept and looked at him. And that's when I knew I needed to leave because I knew that I was going to end up doing something I would regret. From that point, I pretty much let him know that I was leaving him. And we go to Africa, and then some of his women were following me, started following me or looking through my page at that time. And then I started to become really annoyed because it's like, what is there here for you to see? But I was more hurt than anything because I really truly loved him, really truly wanted it to work, really truly just would have did anything, would have done a dash about him, really honestly. And could not figure out why I was in the situation. My son wasn't even 2 yet, and I was about to be a single mother. I was devastated. I let him know that I was leaving. He acted like he didn't care. All right, if you leaving, go ahead and leave. I just take care of the kid, do what I need to do, and that'd be cool, you know. That was the position that he took with me. My 30th birthday was approaching. And though he had, as soon as we arrived, began staying out all night and not coming home at all, because I had informed him that I was leaving. And I guess that he thought that that was the best course of action to take instead of fixing it, or trying to, because there was no fixing it, but there was not even any level of sweetness about it. He randomly throws this grand birthday party for me, to the point where to the outside world it probably looked like we were getting closer, things were getting better, things were amazing. And I remember it being a surprise, and my friends were all in on it, and it was beautiful. Lots of gifts. We had a great time. But I remember feeling so sad, because I knew that once again this was a show. It wasn't real. On the surface, through Instagram, through socials, through pictures, maybe it looked like I was just being treated the best, to the point where women were real life wishing me hate, saying very negative things about me. I'm ugly, my man cheats on me, I'm a dummy, I'm this, that, and the third. I saw all of the comments on Lipstick Alley, because they would be sent to me, sometimes randomly, sometimes from people I knew. And who cares what the point of the matter of sending it to me was? The fact of the matter is that I saw it. And while people had all of these feelings about me and about what I was experiencing, maybe they felt like it should have been them. Maybe they felt like I really was a dummy. Maybe they felt like, I would be dealing with the abuse too if it was me. Whatever they felt, I felt bad because this is not what I signed up for. The money was cool, the lifestyle was cool, but I genuinely signed up for love. I thought he believed in me. I thought he cared for me. I thought that while everybody else was unsure about me, he was sure. I thought that I found my husband. And it really was a really big lesson on women, because women were very unkind to me simply off of my union with him, not because of anything that I had done to them or anything they felt I truly even deserved. They just did not like the positioning of me in his life and vice versa, even though I was in perpetual hell in the relationship. And furthermore than that, they just thought it was funny. And I mean, I don't know if I can really be mad at them for thinking it's funny, because they didn't owe me anything. You know, they didn't owe me care or genuine concern. And most people behind their screens and in their personal lives have their own concerns or disappointments or miserable moments. So maybe my visible situation, or what they thought was going on with my situation, was comedic relief. Who knows? But while it was perplexing to see, I was already hurt the most by the person who did owe me some level of decency. So it didn't matter much. What I knew at that time was, after that party took place, that I was genuinely leaving, and I was about to embark on one of the hardest things I had ever done. I was going to leave perceived financial security with the 1-year-olds, and figure this shit out on my own. What a lot of people don't know, he was like, well, you can go, you're not happy, you just need to go ahead and go on your own and find your own spot. I'll give you some money so you can kind of like start yourself off or whatever, but like, you know, you need to just go and do whatever it is that you do, because I'm tired of arguing with you. And it is what it is. I cheated, but that's just what it is. he carried the shit out of me. And it was, I guess, in his attempt to kind of like, you know, reverse Uno out, in my opinion, where, you know, you really stand firmly on something to make the person say, but why are you? But me not being that sort of woman took that as a, you really genuinely don't care about this, and this is completely done, and we're done. By the time we come back, he's like, well, you're not happy still, you don't want to make up. And I'm like, this is how I know that we are not in a healthy space, because you can think that you can just buy something and fix it. And I was partially at fault, right? Because there was no big thing that I was doing to make him pay for the things that he had done to me, but there was no real way to make him pay without making myself pay at that point. So I had to accept my losses at that point, and I informed him that I was moving out. Shortly after I moved out, I want to say I had moved into my new apartment 2 weeks after my birthday. 2 weeks after I had moved into my apartment, 3 weeks after that party took place, I was arrested. So this part of the story is a little tricky, because there are some things that I just, for the sake of it just being the sake of, there are certain things that I just cannot share. However, what I will say is there was an investigation underway where I was named a co-defendant, and they arrested him, and then they arrested me due to my involvement with him and what he was being accused of at the time. With that being said, subsequently, after I was picked up the first time and released, I was then picked up again after the police raided my home in PG County, due to something that had nothing to do with anything that I had involvement with. Simply looped in with my child's father. From that, he got me a lawyer, and that was it. There was no further support there. There were lots of other things that took place due to the fact that I was on trial. I was on trial from February to June. It was dismissed. I got re-indicted by August, taken up to a higher court, and still I have a record, right? Because I didn't beat anything. Something was dismissed, and then I was directly and immediately re-indicted. And I remained on trial, or with those charges to be tried, until February of the next year, which was 2023. So we're getting closer to the current time. Throughout that time, I could not get a job because I have pending felony charges. And with that being said, there clearly were times that I could not properly afford my bills that I was responsible for due to not being able to find work. So due to that, I went back to cocktailing at the strip club, and I also started picking up random jobs. I literally worked at tent shops. I served steaks at my favorite restaurant. I tended bar. I did random events. I literally did everything that I could to maintain some level of income, because though he did provide some level of money in the beginning, it was not nearly enough money to sustain me for a year, 2 years. This was money given to me with the intention that I would be able to find work, find some way to sustain myself, and mama, come on, down. And take care of my child. Throughout that time, while I'm on trial, while I am facing these issues with trying to figure out how to care for myself and do these things, I was faced with him dating women he knew that I knew. Him sharing with me, well, I'm dating them because I wanted your attention. I wanted you to get mad, but when you didn't get mad, I didn't want them anymore. Him saying, well, I'm not going to come get my baby 3 days on and 3 days off as we had discussed. I'm just going to get him every other weekend now, and you figure it out because I have things I need to figure out. Even though I was on trial due to something that they were accusing him of. I was just a byproduct, a co-defendant. Now, I cannot take care of my child and do the things that I need to do because, yet again, something is about you. And during that time, he did not take that time to care for me. Outside of isolated events where he would try to give me money and take me on dates and try to, well, come home and this, that, and the third, there was no true care applied. There were moments where I could not pay my rent and I asked for assistance. I don't have it. I got half. And then directly after that, he would go on trips with women after telling me that he didn't have the money to assist with my rent where his child lives. Life was kicking my ass. I just want y'all to know that. And for so many, if I did share the story with them individually, it was, I didn't know you were going through that. I can't tell you're going through that. And that's the grace of God. Because I'm going to tell you right now, life was kicking my ass. I was sad as hell, but I knew that this too shall pass. My mind is extremely strong. And shout out to Nicole, because with spiritual guidance and understanding of where I was in my transformation, I knew that this tough time was going to assist me in my true purpose for life. However, during this period of time, being on trial, having a baby to take care of, not knowing how you're going to buy groceries, not knowing how you're going to put gas in your car after your original car was confiscated. There was just so many different things going on, and there was no support from him outside of isolated events or I can do half. And this is not in any way to bash him, to each his or her own. I am sharing this information to let you know that it don't matter what it looked like to anybody else. I transformed my life on my own with the support of my best friends, with the support of my family, with the support of God and my spiritual team. That's it. And I'm sharing this story because, number one, there can be a very large disparity about what something really is and what something looks like. To a lot of people, it will look like, oh, she don't have to worry about nothing. She's set up and this and that. And God knows what the public or what the people were told. But me knowing the truth and me not sharing that truth due to me not feeling like it was necessary at the time, and instead focusing on myself to put myself in a better position, served me better. I remember not being able to get a job. I can't even get a job when I am a college educated woman. I have worked for government. I have worked for private corporations. I have cocktailed. I have done all of these different things. And I go from making choices for my life on my own to now needing to take whatever I can get so that I can assist myself and support myself and my child. And God forbid my parents weren't here, because I don't even know how I would have even paid for a lot of that stuff, because though I was receiving some level of income, it wasn't nearly enough. My God and my family made that thing work. I'm gonna be honest with you. And this is all while I'm watching my son's father travel the world. And when asked, why don't you want to assist me? The response was, if you want assistance, you should have came home. Going out on my own and really just saying, you know what, I'm gonna bet on myself, I'm gonna love myself, and I can do this. I can separate from this man and take care of myself was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do for several reasons. Number one, I was dead ass in love with the man. Number two, I was shaking in my boots because being a single mom was my biggest fear. But over this journey, I learned I can do anything. Because I did it scared, I did it broke, I did it confused, I did it in tears, I did it while people laughed at me, I did it while I didn't know the next thing. I did it blind. This is a big thing, guys. Because while I did have to take a step back from things that made me happy, my content wasn't consistent. I was not able to continue, you know, my store being in business the way that I wanted it to. I had some super sad days. I was able to get to know me though. And to really find and assess how powerful I am and how full of love I am and how tenacious I am. I wasn't able to get a job until December of 2023. After the court proceedings took place, they ended up dismissing it. And by, I want to say, that was in February. It wasn't until August I was able to get some level of an expungement. And with that, I was finally able to start applying for jobs and actually being considered for some. Because I was looked at for jobs previously, but never got calls back. And I knew why. Because if you look up my name in PG County case search, it would have shown up. I finally got a job in December. And shout out to the person who gave me the information about that. And as soon as I got hired, an eviction notice was put on my door. It felt like things just could not get level. It was like one thing. But I pushed through because that's what we do. We don't fold around here. We do what we gotta do and we get it done, because I knew, like, oh, this little baby of mine that I promised a good life and consistent and genuine love, oh, he gonna get it. And I got a job. And I worked that job. And I was so grateful. I expressed my gratitude to God every day. And 2024, I turned 32. And by April, I moved into my dream apartment. And my bills are being paid. I am supporting myself. I am figuring things out. Finally, I just recently got a doggy. Things are panning out, right? And I think that's where I want to end this video. There are going to be times where your sanity will be tested. Before your sanity is tested, your intuition will be tested. Once your sanity is tested, your will is tested. What are you willing to do to get to the bottom of your confusion? What are you willing to do to get to the bottom of your inner chaos? What are you willing to do to separate yourself from the things that have tried to dismantle you, whether on purpose or by accident? What are you willing to do for you? What is your why? What is your end goal? What are you willing to do to show your creator how much you truly care about you? What are you willing to do? While my situation relied heavily on me establishing self-love, me really betting on myself, me taking the chance to separate, and then taking accountability for all of the things that came into play as a result of my lack of self-love, or my lack of knowledge, or my lack of self-trust. Though that was my war story, so to speak, it doesn't matter what yours is. Everything is figure outable. And the only reason I can rightfully tell you this, and the only reason I'm qualified to share this with you, is because I literally taught myself that everything is figure outable. Every single thing. And for that, I have established even more self-love. And for that, I'm absolutely in love with myself. And for that, I look back on pictures of when I was in that relationship and I don't even look the same. I don't even know that girl. It doesn't matter if she had on Gucci and gold, because when it came down time to pay bills and didn't have help, a lot of that shit got sold. Okay? It didn't matter. That girl didn't look happy. And while somebody else might be in ownership of my old bags and old shoes, I'm in ownership of me now. And I think that that is what matters to me most. You feel me? So I'm sure you guys have questions because I feel like I just kind of like ran through that whole thing. And the purpose of this channel is to be transparent, to encourage you, and to explain and share and expand your mind on the possibilities of how beautiful your life can be, and how big you can be, and how bright you can be, and how to take up space and do all of these beautiful things that I literally learned how to do on my own and with my team that God has sent to conspire for my greatest good, right? So feel free to ask them. You can go in the comments, ask me whatever you want, and respectfully, I will answer. But I want you guys to know that it doesn't matter what you're up against. There is no giant bigger than your mind. If you can conceive it, you could do it. 365 days, 365 ways. Don't let nobody tell you that something is not possible. Because I did my personal impossible, and I know that you can do your personal impossible. I was so scared so many days all the time. And I still found a way to love myself, retain my personal dignity, rid myself of shame, and embark on a new timeline. So whatever it is, I encourage you to do the same. I hope that this video provided you insight. I hope that if you were someone that was confused about my divorce, that this gave you some level of understanding. And if there is anything that you have that you'd like to ask me about, resources for single mothers, things that need to happen, or how to make a plan to leave someone who is abusing you emotionally, physically, mentally, or otherwise, feel free to reach out to me. Because my email is here too. You can email me. And yeah, so my name is Dyme LaShawn. Thank you so much for sitting through this video. We obviously have more content to come, but I did not want to come back to my platform without establishing where I've been. I've been recalibrating, and I don't know if you guys can tell because I look a little crunchy right now, but I feel better than I've ever felt, and I'm so very excited to bring you content that you love. So if you have any in particular that you would like, also leave that in the comments. I look forward to talking to you in the next video, and bye.